murdered Annie and Peter.
There are only murderers in this room. Michael, open your eyes. This is the life we chose, the life we lead. And there is only one guarantee.
All right, how you all doing? It's been kind of interesting, funny in a sad way, entrance into the offseason with the clown show press conference. But as I've said, narratives come up and they start dominating things when maybe it's not the exact thing that we should focus on. So I'm going to deal with Tyreek Hill, his injury, but I just want to show a little bit of the past. Jason Taylor, what he played through, how he endured real serious stuff, and how he responded compared to Hill to create context. You could support whoever you want, but we have one guy who's supposed to be the best player in the league. He's supposed to be our leader as far as the most elite talent. And what we saw in the little video that came out, he quit with like 2 minutes left. And now we're hearing the injury thing. So going down this road of Jason Taylor to remind some people what this guy endured in far worse circumstances should really help you drill in that the kind of player you want, especially with that kind of money that you want to build your team off, is not Tyreek Hill. It is Jason Taylor. Now, I did a little clip at the beginning. It's Road to Perdition. Great, great movie. I mean, phenomenal movie. And they're murderers. Well, this is football players. But the gist of it is that Tom Hanks' character is a gangster, and his son saw a murder from Paul Newman's execution, or his son's execution. And now they sent somebody to go kill him, his son, and his wife. And so Tom Hanks comes and finds him, who's been his proxy father, and he's saying, how can you do this? How can you do this? Because Tom Hanks had been a gangster, but didn't fully understand the full job description. So Paul Newman says, come on, you're complaining to me about murders, but you're a murderer. We're all murderers here. The job description is this. Be real with what it is. And the only guarantee is we're not going to make it out alive. We're not going to heaven. And so Tyreek Hill is a special player. Anybody who plays on the NFL is a special player. What they have, it's not even the talent. It's the ability to commit over and over again, to practice, to go through pain. In football, the one guarantee is you will be hurt. You will suffer. And that is in the job description. Now, a lot of us couldn't endure that kind of pain. And that's why they play on the highest level. But within that framework, there are guys that have higher and higher levels of commitment and ability to handle pain. And ability to handle pain psychologically when things aren't going their way, they continue to grind it out when they could very easily quit. And that's why a very small group of people play in the NFL, go to the Hall of Fame, and they're truly great. Jason Taylor is not a perfect person. No one is. But when it comes to football, he's about as perfect as it gets. And you got to understand, he was about 225, 230, 240 maybe when he came into the NFL. And he wasn't an outside linebacker. He was a DN playing on the right side. At that time, there was still high prominence in the left tackle. And so this little guy, really big guy, but little guy in the scheme of things, was on 3 downs, run down, pass down, going against the best offensive lineman. This guy was beat up, and he slowly got bigger and became the great player he was. But that is what greatness takes. That's the kind of guy you want to go all in investments. Hill, he's about himself. If he's hurt, and he's really hurt, but if things aren't going well and he's not getting to the postseason, then you see what he's about. He is not on a great level as far as his ability psychologically to lead. This is very clear. So I want to go over some of this article from Jason Strauss. Jason Taylor almost needed his leg amputated after a game. And also Mike Popovich's Taylor preserved through pain during 15 seasons, to kind of give you an understanding of what it takes to succeed in the NFL. Now, before I get into that, I was on Steve Malloy's channel last night. Great guy. Check it out. I should have promoted it. I'm terrible at that. He's helping me, all the guys that I know and in this kind of content providing business to be a better marketer and promote things. So definitely check out Steve Malloy. Great, great guy. Next week, he's going to be on a live here or a recorded podcast. And I'm also going to have Al from 3 Yards per Carry. So check those out next week. They're going to be really, really good. And definitely check out Last Night with Steve Malloy. His channel is awesome. Definitely subscribe. But speaking of Alf, Alf is the master of Twitter in a lot of ways. I'm not so hot at it. It's just hard to condense everything. I kind of go on. But Alf had a great tweet, and it's sort of funny, and you know, it takes a lot of stuff and condenses it down, but it's very accurate. Give it 2 weeks and Tyreek Hill's wrist injury will be some form of new cancerous AIDS he overcame that he would have had any normal person's whole arm amputated. Tyreek is so brave to play with a life-threatening injury. And it's not to knock the injury, but again, football is about pain. It's about suffering. You have this group of people that most people could never play, just athletic standpoint, but a commitment to train and to persevere, but that to endure intense amount of pain. But within that framework of these guys are a very small group of people and very special, you have different degrees of people who can endure the psychological and physical abuse, and that's what it is. But the Hall of Fame is the best of the best of the best. Now, we were told Tyreek Hill is that kind of guy. From a talent standpoint, you can't knock him. But it takes more than talent to get to the Hall of Fame and to be a true leader. Bobby Show's great guy, awesome person. Had him on for a lot. I'm going to try to get him back. Check out the Dive Bar, just great dude. He had this. I didn't even notice. I saw this on his Twitter thing. Drew later said he can't say for certain that Tyreek wants to be with the Dolphins. So basically a lot of nothing. So there's all kind of talk from Greer and McDaniel. McDaniel's a really good guy. I don't think he's a liar, but Greer is. So who knows what it is. But Rosenhaus is his agent. He knows everything. He knows what kind of underwear he's wearing that day. So there is a lot of stuff still brewing. But guys, Jason Taylor, the kind of guy you want to build everything off. When he came into the league, he was 225, 240, small, but he played a defensive end. He played over the left tackle. He played on 3 downs. You know what kind of strength and endurance and mental fortitude it takes to be that small and as a rookie to play on run downs, especially in a DN spot. But it's because he was so special, he was able to overcome that challenge of being tall but thin. Later, he got bigger. But let's take a look at what this guy had to endure and compare who is a guy you can build on. Doctors diagnosed Taylor with compartment syndrome after he was sent to the hospital. Compartment syndrome occurs when there is increased pressure in the areas that contain muscle and nerves. He got leg whipped, looked like nothing, and it almost took his leg. Had Taylor waited 2 more hours to be treated, he would have lost a leg. He played for the rest of the season with this. He was forced to clear other painful hurdles during his career. While playing with a herniated disc, Taylor was voted Defensive Player of the Year in 2006. He did not practice much that year and took medicine given women when they are in labor. A 8 to 10 pound thing going through your special area. He had to take that and to endure it. I'd say that's a little bit worse than a broken wrist. A broken wrist is something, but just think about that. Life off the field was challenging. Talked about how he couldn't even spend time with his kids. He had to just drop them in the bed because he couldn't even bend over. But he was going to play football on Sundays and Mondays and whatever else. In dealing with a staph infection, Taylor took antibiotics through a catheter that ran through his armpit to his heart for nearly 30 minutes each day. He concealed the catheter with tape during games and ignored doctors who told him that it was not a good idea to play with it. Taylor also suffered from plantar fasciitis, causing pain under his heel. He still wanted to play, so doctors treated him with infections before a game. They handed him a towel to put in his mouth to keep him from screaming. Taylor took 2 shots, one just to numb the area. The first shot was ridiculous, Taylor said in a Herald interview, ridiculously horrible, excruciating. You can't kill the foot because then it's just dead numb. You've got to get the perfect mix of anesthesia. I was crying and screaming. Taylor persevered through all the pain and played 15 seasons in the NFL. And looking back at a career that landed him in the Hall of Fame, he said the suffering was still worth it. And he never won bupkis. That's leadership. Would I want my kid to go through that? Would I want to go through that? No. Would you? No. But the job description is pain. I was going to put Clubber Lang's, what's your prediction? Pain. That's what it takes. You've got to play through pain. Availability. You're not guaranteed success in the NFL. You're not guaranteed a roster spot. You're certainly not guaranteed the Hall of Fame. You've got to earn it by being beaten into the ground. It's horrible what some of these guys go through. I think the average lifespan from a couple of years ago was like 55 for an NFL player. They lose their life to play this game. But they're making millions and doing what they want. But the job description is the job description. There's doctors over in foreign lands that are dying and being taken by rebels to do their thing. There's cops being shot. Prison guards, soldiers, people who work on high buildings, they fall to their death. And they're not making that kind of money, but they know the job description. They're adults. They pick up the bird and say, I want this. At any time they can quit. But in order to win in the NFL, you've got to have people to do this. You've got to have people, like Captain America said, be the guy to lay on the barbed wire and have other people climb over. Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, all the greats you know were. Dan Marino went through so much. Tyreek Hill is not. He's not the guy to lay on the barbed wire. He's Iron Man before the end. Super talent. But he's not the guy you build off. KC moved off and we spent the house on it. They're winning Super Bowls. Super talent, not a leader. He quit on his team. How do you bring him back? How do you expect to have a team with that kind of character? Guys not showing up to practice. Guys showing up late to meetings. We have a weak, dishonorable GM. We've got a weak head coach who's a great guy who's put in an untenable situation. I like Mike McDaniel as a person. I don't think he's a leader of men. But Greer is the kind of guy who brings in guys that are selfish, guys that are really finesse and kind of soft. And you might like them better than the other guys, but don't expect to win. You need some killers. You need people who are willing to kill themselves for the victory. That's just the way it is. This is a pseudo-militaristic, total warrior sport. And most people can't understand that. They want people massage. I see the thing going on. Flores was abusive. And I think Omar Kelly's saying back in Shula's days, a different era, they were taking coke and smoking on the sidelines and the coaches were being abusive. Guys, go to the pit inside the stock exchange and see how they're treated. It's a high-end gig with millions and billions at stake. I had a small job and it would grind you up because I was an editor and a writer, and you make one screw up and you get chewed out like nobody's business. I was making nothing. There's so many people out there making far less. They choose the path, and in order to be great, you've got to have this boiling point. It can get too much, but nobody's dying. They might say you're an idiot and a jerk, but I mean, really, not to put me up because I'm nothing. I worked as a landscaper when I was like 23 years old. Nastiest boss, but I couldn't get a job anywhere else. I needed the money. And so you gave me the worst jobs. You talked to me like a jerk. I had to carry the lawnmower to the top of this hill. I was so tired. I let it rest on my back after running it, and the hot motor sat on the back of my leg. I felt this cold sensation. I'm like, I got gas on it. I dropped gas. Great. Throw the thing down, and I see the stuff bubbling on the muffler. I look back at my leg, and there's a big hole in my leg. The skin's gone. There's white stuff kind of like bubbling. I burned a hole in my leg down almost second degree burns. Maybe third, I guess. And I had to go home. I had to finish my job. I had dirt in it and grass. I had to go pick it out, crying and screaming. And I told my boss, he's like, listen, if you don't come back tomorrow, you're fired. I need workers. So I had to wrap that thing up, take whatever I had to take. A lot of stuff back then. And then I had to do my job. But I made the choice. and I couldn't get my money and finish, stay with the job unless I did it. You don't get to win in the NFL because you're a nice guy. It's great when you have nice guys, but it's a league of killers. It's a league of abuse. This is the game. And Greer does not understand it. I talk about the offensive line, and yeah, it's the unit and all that stuff. It's the physicality. You've got to grind your opponent up and then take advantage of him. That's not human. This is not necessarily a human sport. Guys, they know they got an injury and they attack it. You got to be realistic. And, if you don't like that, fine. But don't expect to win. Hill is not a guy we build on. He's weak mentally. I mean, he's strong mentally, but for these guys, these NFL players, he quit on us. There's no way that he should be back, but he probably will because Greer doesn't care. He wants to justify himself just like he did in his interview. They want to win now. They don't want to look worse. So they're going to run with Hill because they pull him out. It's going to accentuate the flaws on the interior, and there's lots of them, and they got to fix it. And if they pull him out, they're going to even need more. Jason Taylor should be revered. Zach Thomas, these guys, Wake, all these guys, they got nothing, Bubkiss, and they played their hearts and souls out. Tyreek is a mercenary who's in it for himself. Dolphin fans, you've got to be clear on this. There is your world, how you interact. But then there's other worlds and other jobs where it's not what you want. It's not a nice guy world. Try being a soldier. What happens to you? You can't even get out. These guys can always quit with millions. The Dolphins, you don't want nasty people, but occasionally you might need some. But you need to be physical, and fans need to understand. Greer thinks it's an X's and O's and speed and agility, and he found out differently. NFL is physicality, brutality, and there's a beauty in it. Some people do die, but it's not about killing the other guy, but it is about breaking him. It's just a reality. And you can't win a Super Bowl. You can't have real success unless you have that, unless you understand that. And that is a darkness to the beauty of the sport. But when you play it, it's expected. So, guys, let's be clear on what we got. Let's be clear on where we're headed. And let's be clear on who Hill is. He is not the guy you spend $30 million on and build your team around. Just not. Got to move off him. Build guys on like Campbell. That's a super. I'm going to miss him so much. Build guys like Taylor. There's guys out there. Brooks. These guys you could build on. Sealer. There are guys to build on. We have here, just not enough of them. And Hill is not one of them. And there's others. That's why we have all our problems. So I took a day and a half off. I just didn't want to do this thing because it's just kind of sad to see what we become and all these narratives that are being put out to hide things and obfuscate. But we got to keep on point. I think a lot of fans now are there. I think it's very hard to hide the truth. So I'll get back to more coverage. Enjoy playoff weekend. Watch the teams. Watch how they play. Watch how they win. And ask yourself, are we even close to that? And the answer will be no. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.